All right, welcome back, everyone. Guys, today I got some fire picks, by the way, some fire early picks, some fire early reads. So stay tuned because this is a great fight card and there's a lot of good spots, a lot of good underdogs. I'm excited. I'm excited for this one. Today we will be talking about UFC 325. Alexander Volkanovski versus Lopez 2. Volkanovski defending his belt. And yeah, I'm excited for this one. So let's just dive in and start off with the first fight of the night. We have Aaron Tao versus Namsrai Batbayar. So my early lean is going to be Nasram Batbayar. I do believe this guy is really good. I think flyweights in general just have a higher level than like any other division just because of the size. So they have to be super technical, super good everywhere, even before coming into the UFC. And I've seen some of this guy's fights, and this guy is, I believe, UFC level. And I think he gets the win here against Aaron Tao. These Mongolians are no joke, man, or at least that region of the world. Those guys are no joke. And I think Aaron Tao, I mean, based off looks, I would have leaned Aaron Tao just because that face tattoo is crazy. I've never seen someone with that face tattoo in my life, nor I think I will ever see someone else, unless, you know, some new fighter from Australia or New Zealand comes into the UFC, a new young guy. But man, just based off looks, I was leaning Aaron Tao, but then I went and I saw some tape, and I do have to lean the side of Namsram. I think he has the grappling edge. He has the submission threat. I do think Aaron Tao is probably going to be more of the aggressor in the beginning of the fight. Try to keep it on the feet. I think Nasram is also good on the feet. However, he's the one that I think can mix it up better. And ultimately, that is why I'm leaning to the Namsrat side. He's also had some slew of good competition. I did look at their topology. I was looking at some other fighters, but Nasrat, I believe he is on a pretty good win streak. I think he's only had one loss in his, I guess, professional MMA career. Yeah, one loss, and it was a submission loss for a title fight in Mongolia. So he's probably fighting another Mongolian savage. But aside from that, all his fights, actually, that's crazy. All of his fights have been by submission or KO. He's never hit the scorecards, which is wild for a flyweight. So that's actually pretty insane. 4 wins by KO, 5-1 sub. Damn. I think this dude is really good. From what I've seen, he's a really good fighter. And he's probably going to be my official prediction when the videos come out. But yeah, give me Nasram Batbayar as my early lean and prediction in this fight. And these two guys are gonna get after it, so I do probably see a finish. Maybe a submission win by Nasram. We'll see. Then we got Sulangrangbo versus Lawrence Louis. Thankfully, I got it from watching some of the tapes and some of his past fights. The announcers helped me out here, because I didn't know how you pronounce that, but it was supposedly Louis, so good to know. This one I was actually pretty torn too, because I went back and looked at both of these guys, and Sulangrangbo is like 20 years old. At 19, he got a KO win in road to UFC, and Lawrence Louis has had some good fights. He is a durable guy. His striking's pretty solid. So is Solan. I'm gonna just say Long because I can't say his full name. Solan also has some good striking. I think they're both pretty good. They're going to be probably pretty good prospects in the UFC. They seem like, you know, they're entertaining. I think for bantamweight, they're definitely not going to be, I don't know if they're like championship level material, because there are some fighters that you see on the regional scene and you're like, wow, this kid's good. And I think this kid has potential. And if he tweaks things up, we can potentially see him in the rankings. These guys, I looked at them. They're solid. I think Lawrence does probably have more of the upside potential just because he comes from a good school, which is City Kickboxing. So he does have good training partners where he's probably going to improve his skills. In this fight, I'm not honestly torn. This is like a 50-50 to me. I'm probably going to lean the side of Louis, just because he is the hometown guy. He's fighting out of, it says China, but he's not fighting out of China. I don't know if he was born in China, but he's definitely either Australian or New Zealand. I think he's from New Zealand. Yeah, New Zealand. And fighting out of Auckland, New Zealand. No idea why they put China there, but he is going to be my early lean for this fight. Then we got Torrez, Jacob Malkoun versus Torrez Finney. This is also another interesting fight. Crazy matchup here. Torrez Finney, built one of the craziest builds I have seen. He fights at middleweight and he's 5'8". This dude is wide as hell. I think he's wide like maybe, he's probably like he's like maybe 2.5, 3 feet wide. I don't know how wide he is, maybe even more, but his build is insane. And they also say here he has a 75.5 inch reach. I do not think that is accurate. I do not think he has. That's almost a 76 inch reach. That's a reach for someone who's like 6'2", 6'3", maybe like 6 foot, 6'1", but for someone who's 5'8", that's insane. And I also went to the UFC stats page to double check, and they also have it listed at 75 inches. I don't know how true that is, but, and I have heard like some other like people say that they don't believe that's true. I personally don't think so. I do think he has a longer reach for his build, for his body, for his height, but not near 75. He's more like a 70, 71 inch reach, in my opinion, but who knows? I don't have a tape measure. I haven't been around him to know, but that is crazy if that's true, which I don't think it is. But back to this fight, I am going to lean the side of Torrez Finney as my pick and prediction. And that is just mainly due to his wrestling. I think he could take down Jacob Malkoun. He can control him, keep him on the ground if he wants to. I really hope his corner, his team has told him that, dude, you can't just take someone down and just hold them there. I think the UFC is going to get tight at you and probably not give you, favorable matchups in the future, or kind of try to push you just because you aren't entertaining. So I'm really hoping that when he takes someone down, he doesn't just control them, but he inflicts damage. That's what I'm hoping for in this fight. I do still think he gets the win, even if that's not the case. Jacob Malkoun does not have good takedown defense. I don't really see a threat. If there is going to be a finish, it is on the side of Jacob Malkoun. I do see him maybe catching Torrez Finney, but I don't think it's going to be on the feet for too long. I think Torrez Finney is going to work in those takedowns, drag it to the mat, keep Jacob Malkoun there, and ultimately get a win via probably decision. So give me Torrez Finney as the early pick. Then we got Keiichiro Nakamura versus Sebastian Szalay. So I did do some research, dug into these two fighters, and they're both primarily strikers, both decent fighters. I do think I am going to lean the side of Sebastian Szalay just for the fact that he fights more in the karate point style fighting, and I think Nakamura is probably going to have some difficulty trying to find his range, his distance, and land cleanly on Sebastian. I've seen a couple of Sebastian's fights. He has weathered some adversity, and I've seen some of Nakamura fights, but in one fight he was literally fighting a tin can. He was in a ring which looked like in the gymnasium of a high school, and there was like 10 people around, and this dude that he was fighting looked like he's been training MMA for 6 months. So the other fight though he did have was in Road to UFC, and that looked like a pretty decent fight. However, I have seen more from Sebastian Szalay. I think his point fighting, like karate style, is going to help him in this one. I do think this one goes the distance because both guys at least look durable to me. But give me Sebastian Szalay as the early lean and prediction. Then we have Sangwook Kim versus Dom Mar Fan. I am going to go on the side of Don Marfan here. I think he is just the better of the two in terms of overall fighters. I think that Don Marfan is definitely better in the striking. Grappling, I think Sangwook Kim probably holds a slight edge over Don Marfan, but I did see in Don Marfan's previous fights, he did mix it up. He did well. He did good on the feet. You know, he took a guy down, submitted him. Sangwook Kim, from what I've seen, he just shoots pretty quickly, and he's good on the ground. But I think Don Marfan can probably keep it on the feet if he wants to. Maybe initiate some of that, you know, takedown threat if he wants to. However, I don't think he has to. I think if he keeps it on the feet, he could definitely get a win here. Looking at their previous performances, we got Don Marfan coming off a decision win, submission win. That was the fight I saw. He got a submission win against Tom Pratt. And yeah, that was an Eternal. All these Australian guys and New Zealand guys fight. That is the promotion they go to, I think, before coming into the UFC or before like going to another big promotion. Eternal is like the middleman between them. Like they need to prove themselves there first. And he did get a submission win. And I did see that fight that he got a KO win against Tim Rogers. I think this guy's good. I really do. I think he mixed it up well. Sangwook Kim, he is pretty decent. I think his ground game is really what excels him. And give me the better overall fighter to get the victory here, which I think is Don Marfan. And he is the hometown guy in this one. I didn't really see too much of Sangwook Kim. And Don Marfan by KO, because I hope he knows the threat that Sangwook Kim could have on the ground. And I did see Sangwook Kim, I think he won by Darce, and I forgot what other submission he got. But yeah, give me Don Marfan as my early lean and prediction. This is one I might revisit in the future for the official picks and bets video. But early leans, Don Marfan for sure. All right, then we got some of the more interesting fights. You know, damn, those fights that I just went through were pretty rough, just because most of those are debuts. Most guys coming off of road to UFC. So going back and watching tape on languages that I don't even know what they're saying, I don't even understand. Having to watch videos off of like phones, it's crazy. It was crazy. But I did my homework for you guys. I did the research for you guys. Hopefully that was helpful. Now, maybe to some fights that you guys may know the fighters a little bit better. So we got Cam Rowston versus Cody Brundage. This is going to be a good fight. I do like Cody Brundage. I think he is a good wrestler. He just has low fight IQ in my opinion, and he's had some pretty bad luck lately in the UFC. He's coming off I think it's like a win, draw, loss, win, draw. Like, it's crazy. And he is fighting Cam Rowston, another guy who's been pretty exciting. I think he made his UFC debut. Came out getting a KO win, I believe, in pretty quick fashion. Yes, he got a KO win against Andre Petroski, who is again not a slouch, which is a pretty good fight for your first fight in the UFC. So that is a solid win. It is a kind of a quick turnaround since that fight was 2 months, 3 weeks ago, and he's fighting in a few weeks. So he's staying pretty active. He is going to be the hometown guy. He's fighting out of Australia, fighting out of City Kickboxing, which we all know has had some pretty well-known names come out of that gym. And then from what I said before, Cody Brundage, loss, draw, win, no contest. It's crazy. This guy has been on a slew of weird fights. I think his fight IQ is really what's damaging to him. I do believe he is probably going to wrestle in this one. He will probably end up taking down Cam Rowston at some point in the fight. However, I do see Cam Rowston working his way back up, maybe stuffing some takedowns. He's definitely going to land the cleaner shots, the more impactful shots. I don't know if he puts Cody Brundage out. Cody Brundage is pretty durable. However, I do see Cam Rowston getting his hand raised at the end of this fight. So give me Cam Rowston as my early lean and pick. All right, then we got Jimmy Crute versus Dustin Jacoby. And just off the bat, give me Dustin Jacoby to get the dub here against Jimmy Crute. I've looked into both of these guys. Jimmy Crute, if you're going to say excel, or if I'm going to use that word, I'll use it lightly, but he excels in the grappling submission game. His striking is not that good. He doesn't pack a punch, but Dustin Jacoby, this guy's overall well-rounded. He's had some good slew of competition, and he's got some good knockout wins. And I think he can hold up against Jimmy Crute's takedown threat and ultimately get a victory in this fight and maybe a finish. We'll see. Looking at their past performance, I do think both guys are coming off a two-fight win streak. So yeah. Dustin Jacoby KO win against Vitor Petrino. I think that's a solid win. Vitor Petrino was one of those guys that at one point was like a rising contender, and there was talk to his name just because how massive and big he is, but that has slowly lost some steam. And then he got a win against Bruno Lopez by KO, where Jimmy Crute got a submission win against Ivan Arslan, and then a submission win against Marcin Prachnio. So as long as Dustin Jacoby doesn't get caught in like a submission threat, gets taken down, and has to defend some submissions, I think he'll be fine on the feet. I don't see a threat coming from Jimmy Crute. I do see Dustin Jacoby being a good underdog pick in this card. And I don't know the odds yet. I do think, Crute is the favorite based off Tapology, 54% to 46%. We'll see what the odds are for this one. But if he is a dog, I am going to put some money on Dustin Jacoby. And depending how big of a dog he is. However, I do like him in this matchup, and I think he gets the victory. All right, and then we got Salkilld versus Rongzhu. As far as my early lean and pick, I am going to go with Salkilld. Dude's coming off an impressive win against Namsrai Kakpras. That leg kick KO was pretty wild. And I did have Namsrai in that fight. He was doing well in the beginning. He was holding up, definitely winning like kind of the striking exchanges. However, Salkilld caught him. This kid does have that. I don't know if he has that X factor, but I think he does well in a fight like this, because I think this is a step down in competition for him from going from Namsrai Kakpras to Rongzhu. I have seen Rongzhu. He is a durable guy. He's always ready to fight, comes in there to scrap. But I think Salkilld is the better of the two just overall. And looking at their past performance, I got this fight card messed up. He's on a 5-fight win streak, probably more, just because this is the last 5 fights. But KO win against Namsrai, decision win, KO, decision, submission, which is nice to see. And then you got Rongzhu, who won a unanimous decision against Austin Hubbard. Unanimous decision against Cody Steele, lost to Chris Padilla, which is a decent loss, because I know Taco Padilla is pretty good. And then these were in Road to UFC. Okay, so but had a submission win and a decision. So give me this fight actually to probably go decision. I don't see Quillan probably putting out Rongzhu like he did to Namsrai. However, I think he's probably going to land the cleaner hits, more impactful hits. The crowd is probably going to go a little more wild when he does land. and I could see him squeaking out a victory here. I wouldn't go throwing my house on Quillan. I think there might be some people that are probably going to be all over him, but depending on the odds where he's at, I know he's probably going to be the favorite. So just be careful on this one. However, I'm going to go with Killian Salkilld as my early lean and pick. Then we got Jonathan Micallef versus Oban Elliott. This is one I was also kind of on the fence, but I am going to lean to the side of Oban Elliott. I think Oban Elliott is a well-rounded fighter. He's very compact, keeps everything tight, has both a striking and ground game. And overall, from what I've seen, he's a pretty solid fighter. Jonathan Micallef, on the other hand, I did see his fight against Kevin Josette, and his body kicks and kicks up top are pretty impressive. He pretty much won that fight by kicking to the body of Kevin Josette. However, Kevin Josette is no longer in the UFC. But just give me the guy who I think can probably do a little bit more, which I think is Oban Elliott in this fight. I think this is a very close fight, and I was also on the fence too. So both guys are coming off of wins, I believe. And I could be wrong. Am I not seeing them? Oh, right here. Oh, okay. So Jonathan is, but all right. Oban Elliott is coming off a loss, a unanimous decision. But before that, he does have more UFC experience than Jonathan Micallef. He only has one UFC fight, and that is against a guy who is no longer here. Granted, I don't know if any of these guys are also in the UFC that Oban Elliott has beat or lost to, but he has one loss, and then before that, he had 3 UFC wins before that loss. So, I think he gets a bounce back win here against Jonathan Micallef. It is going to be close. Both guys are pretty good at what they do, but I think it's ultimately going to come down to game plan, and hopefully Oban mixes it up, tries to take down Jonathan, or at least has that takedown threat to kind of get in his strikes. So give me Oban Elliott as my early lean and pick here. All right, and then we have Junior Tafa versus Billy Elekana. This one, I thought to myself at first, it was like, what if Junior Tafa goes in there and kind of gets in the brawl with Billy, and Billy wants to dance, and then you see Junior Tafa knock him out, and I was like, no, that's not going to happen. I was like, I woke up from that dream because Billy Elekana is smart. I think what primarily is driving me to pick him as my early lean is that fight against Ibo Aslan. And we saw him use his fight IQ in that one because Ibo Aslan is also a brawler. He wants to go in there and knock you out. He is a powerful striker and pack his strikes pack a punch. However, Billy Elekana mixed it up and ended up winning a decision win, which is what I could see here. I see Billy Elekana mixing up the takedown threat, not even the threat, just taking Junior Tafa down. As we know, the Tafa brothers have no ground game or takedown defense. And I think Justin Tafa did get cut from the UFC. But I think Billy Elekana can do a little bit more. I don't see him putting away Junior. If anything, by submission could be a play. But I just see him as the overall better fighter. He knows how to mix it up. I think his game plan is going to go in. He's going to go in there with a good game plan. And as long as he doesn't get caught in a brawl or a fire exchange with Junior Tafa, he should be fine. So give me Billy Elekana as my early lean and prediction. All right. Then we got one that might be a little controversial, but I got Bam Bam Tai Tuivasa as my early lean and prediction. For the record, I am not going to be placing a bet on this fight. Maybe up until weigh-ins, just because I don't know how Tai Tuivasa is going to come into this one. I have heard that, he's put on a lot of weight and he's been doing a lot of extracurricular activities, such as like opening up a brewery. I know that he likes to drink and party, so who knows? Who knows what he's been up to? Hopefully he's been dialed in, locked in for this fight. But I just don't like the fact that Tallison was so hyped going into the UFC and got fraud. I don't know about fraud check, but he got checked by Derek Lewis. He was like, all right, yo, there's levels to this. And the thing is that heavyweight, there isn't too much competition, or there's not too many like contenders, and you don't really see that many exciting fighters at heavyweight as you do in, say, like welterweight, lightweight, even like featherweight, bantamweight, all these other divisions. There's so many good fighters where heavyweight is just like concentrated in the top like 3 to 5. But I think that Tai Tuivasa can come in here and possibly get a KO win against Tallison. I haven't seen too much from Tallison. I did see him get that victory in his first UFC fight. I forgot who it was against, but he did get a KO. Yeah, it was against Justin Tafa, who is no longer in the UFC. Not a great win, in my opinion, just because Justin Tafa is a guy that just brawls. There's no technique, no technical, like nothing really there than just he's going to go out there and slug with you. Where Tai Tuivasa is kind of the same fashion, just a little bit better. And I think that little bit better is probably what's leaning me to pick him early. Granted, like I said, I'm not betting on this fight. I like Tai Tuivasa here, but then again, I have to see how he weighs in, what weight he comes in at, how he looks, because he is on a 5-fight losing streak. It might be more, but he's lost to very high-level competition, and I don't think Tallison is that. I don't think he's a Cyril Gane or a Sergey Pavlovich or an Alexander Volkov, maybe a Marcin Tybura, but or a Jairzinho Rozenstruik. But yeah, some of these guys are like top of the division, and I don't hold anything against them losing to Cyril Gane or Sergey or Alexander Volkov. This guy's been a staple. Sergey Pavlovich, one of the most dangerous guys in the division, and then Cyril Gane, as you know, top 1 or 2 in the division. I don't know what his ranking is, but he was beating Tom Aspinall. I'll just tell you that before that eye poke. But the Marcin Tybura came out with a good game plan, man. He took him down and submitted him. And then Jairzinho Rozenstruik, I did see that fight, lost a split decision. Jairzinho is a good kickboxer, kept it at range, worked in his kickboxing, striking in really well. So can't really say anything too much about that. However, I do see in this fight there being some pretty wild exchanges between these two, and hopefully Ty's chin holds up. I know it's been cracked already, but he's had some time off since his last fight. I believe his last fight was 1 year and 4 months ago, which is good. That's good that he took that much time off from his last fight. And although it does feel like it's been more, but where that Derek Lewis KO was 5 months ago, so it's gonna be like 6 months by the time this fight happens. A little over 6 months, but I don't know. I might have to do a little more research, but at least from what I know, man, this isn't one you want to bet on. I don't think it's a fight that you should be putting massive amounts of money on. So give me Tai Tuivasa as my early lean in this one. All right, and then we have Kaan Ofli versus Yizha, and there's no way this fight is higher in the fight card than that Bam Bam and Teixeira fight. So I think this order might be wrong, but I don't know. In this fight, I am gonna lean Kaan Ofli versus Yizha. I think both these guys are gonna come in ready to scrap, and I think that's what this fight is going to be. It's gonna be a scrap. I am pretty excited for this one, and this one is going to be one that's going to fly under the radar just because both of these guys don't really have a big name. However, both guys are good. I have seen Yizha in the regional scene, and I've seen some of Kaan Ofli's fights. I think Kaan Ofli is just the overall better fighter, in my opinion. And yeah, he's fighting out of Australia, but he's Turkish. Both guys are coming off a win. I do rate the Ricardo Ramos win higher than the Weston Wilson win, in my opinion. So give me Kaan Ofli to get a win here, probably by decision. I don't see either guy finishing the other one. Maybe there might be a little more upside on the Yizha side to get a finish, but he does have a loss against Gabriel Santos. No loss there in terms of name, just because I think Gabriel Santos is a pretty good like rising prospect. And the same thing with Kaan Ofli. He lost to Mohamed Naimov, who is a good fighter, and then he lost to Marion Santos, which I know is a rising prospect. So two pretty solid losses for Kaan Ofli and a solid loss for Yizha. And then before that, one by submission, decision, submission, all in road to UFC. And then here, he beat Ricardo Ramos by submission. And then before that, submission and submission. Damn, both of these guys are submitting people. So I think it's going to be a case where these two guys are good on the ground. So it's going to be on the feet. And I think it's probably going to favor Kaan Ofli, in my opinion. So give me Kaan Ofli as my early lean. Then now we got into the fights I think everyone is excited for, because I won't lie, some of those earlier fights, I don't know if everyone's excited for them. I am, but granted, there's no big names there, and there are some non-exciting fighters. So we have here Rafael Fiziev versus Mauricio Rufy. I think this is going to be a banger. I think this is going to be a very exciting fight. And I am going to lean the side of Fiziev to get the win over Rufy. I don't see Rufy bouncing back after that loss to Benoit Saint-Denis here. Maybe after this one. But Fiziev, man, he's good. He's really good in the Muay Thai, man. His Muay Thai is slick. And this guy is a great striker. I think he's gotten better after his loss to Justin Gaethje the first time and second time. Unfortunate that he lost twice to Justin Gaethje. But I do think he's mixed in the threat of takedowns and grappling a little bit more as of recently, which I think is smart, because as you go up the rankings, you're just going to get guys that are good at everything. So he has done the right thing and improved in his areas of weakness, and I think his striking is just great. Where Mauricio Rufy has also great striking, I think he is the more dynamic and like entertaining. I don't want to say entertaining. He's had more entertaining moments than Fiziev, but he is the more flashy. That's the word. He's the more flashy of the two guys, where he throws in crazy shit like that spinning wheel kick to Bobby Green. And I remember he had another nice like entertaining knockout. But that being said, I think Fiziev is going to mix in that takedown threat to Rufy. We've seen him kind of wither, especially against Benoit Saint-Denis, which was an upset. He was the favorite in that fight. Lost to Benoit Saint-Denis. He took him down. He controlled him. He kept him there and ultimately submitted him. I don't think Fiziev is going to do that, but I think Fiziev is going to do more in this one. I think Rufy is probably going to have his moments in the fight, but ultimately Fiziev is going to have his hand raised. I think since it is a 3-round fight, all Fiziev has to do is, maintain himself in the striking, maybe get a takedown, control him for a bit on the ground, have Mauricio Rufy come up to his feet, and then, a little bit back and forth in the striking and ultimately edge out a victory here. So I think both guys, definitely Fiziev is a durable fighter. I really don't see Rufy putting him out unless it's with something that he clearly doesn't see. But aside from that, Fiziev is durable. I'm not too sure about Mauricio Rufy now. I'm not like throwing myself off the train yet, but this is a really tough matchup for him. And one thing that was on my mind is all the fighting nerds say that Mauricio Rufy is the most gifted fighter at the gym, or the most talented. When everyone speaks of each other, they all say he is the most talented. But most of the time, the most talented fighter never ends up, I guess, achieving the most or succeeding. It's always those fighters that have that dog in them, have, like, for example, Gene Silva and Carlos Prates, right? those guys, I can see their hunger. I can see them wanting going out there, and especially Gene Silva. Unfortunately, he lost to Diego Lopez, but that dude's a savage. Same thing with Carlos Prates. I think Carlos Prates also has that X factor, which is his power. He can put anyone out in like the welterweight division. I don't know if Mauricio Rufy carries that in his hands. I have seen him put people out with a spinning wheel kick, which was Bobby Green. But he can be the most talented, but that doesn't necessarily lead to success, is what I'm trying to say here. And I have been contemplating that. I have seen Mauricio Rufy. Don't get me wrong, he's a great fighter. But in this instance, unfortunately, I don't think he wins this one. So give me Fiziev as my early lean and prediction. Then we got Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint-Denis. And just off the bat, I got Benoit Saint-Denis to win this one. This one's pretty straightforward in my opinion. I think Benoit Saint-Denis holds that grappling submission edge. I think he's going to take down Dan Hooker and either, ground and pound him with elbows, get him all bloody, and then ultimately get a submission win. I do see on the feet Dan Hooker standing and banging, and this is going to be a very entertaining fight. However, I think Benoit is going to do well in mixing up the takedown threat to land strikes, and then once he's striking, to set up his takedown threats. So he's probably going to mix them both and ultimately get a victory against Dan Hooker. I like Benoit Saint-Denis. He's bounced back well after his loss to Renato Moicano, where he took a lot of damage on. But this dude is truly a fighter. He has no quit in him unless you put him out, which is what Dustin Poirier did, and what Moicano ultimately did. Like he was done at that point, and I think it was a doctor stoppage that had to cause it, because he was gonna keep going, man. And this dude was about to get killed, literally in the ring. So it was a tough one to watch. At certain points, I was like, the ref has not stopped us yet. So give me Benoit Saint-Denis as the early lean and pick here. And that is probably not going to change for this one. I think Dan Hooker has had his time. There was like kind of at one point like a resurgence, but Arman Tsarukyan kind of shut that down. And this is pretty quick turnaround for him, although he didn't take too much damage in that Arman fight. All right, and the main event of the evening, we have Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. And man, I am excited for this one. Their first fight was a really competitive, great fight. I do give Volkanovski the edge in that one. He did ultimately win a decision against Diego Lopez. Even though Diego Lopez had his moments, he did well in that fight. I just think he could have done a little bit more. His output wasn't enough to get him the victory, and I think that's what is going to change in this one. And that being said, my early lean and prediction is going to be Diego Lopez to get the victory against Alexander Volkanovski. And don't get me wrong, I love Volkanovski. He's been such a great champ, has given us so many good fights. He is probably, arguably, the best this division has ever seen. It's between him and Jose Aldo. But man is true to himself. Great guy from what it looks like. And yeah, nothing but good things to say about Volkanovski. But in this fight, I do like Diego Lopez. I think now that he has that 5-round championship experience, he's been in there with Volk. He's going to make the adjustments. I think all he has to do is do a little bit more output. Maybe even mix in the takedown threat himself on Volk. He definitely is going to come forward. He's already felt the power of Volkanovski. And Diego Lopez has a chin on him, man. This guy is like, those shots that he ate from Gene Silva, I was so surprised. I was like, wow, this dude has like the reincarnated like Chuck Liddell or like prime Vittori chin. It was pretty wild. So I don't see Volkanovski like knocking him out here or even submitting him. Diego Lopez has a crazy ground game. If not, Volkanovski is the one that's going to have to be worried if he tries taking down Diego Lopez, because Diego Lopez throws up submissions off his back very well. And he's good to get back on his feet. And he has good takedown defense. So overall, Diego Lopez is that guy. He has that dog in him. He's a savage. And I think he gets the win here. I don't know if he puts out Volk. That is what I've been thinking. Like, he could get a KO win. If not, a decision against Volkanovski. But I think Diego Lopez is going to make the adjustments for this fight. Unfortunately, Volkanovski is towards the end of his career. He's older now. I know it hasn't been too long since their last fight, but he is 37, and I don't know. Father time catches up to everyone, and Diego Lopez right now is in his prime. He looks so good. That win against Gene Silva is very impressive, and I think he is ultimately going to get his hand raised and get that belt finally. And it's crazy that he got the opportunity before Movsar Evloev, who has a win over Diego Lopez and Leon Murphy, who I believe is undefeated and is coming off a spectacular win himself. But Diego Lopez is always comes to fight, is always entertaining, and I understand why the UFC went his direction. So give me Diego Lopez as my early pick in this fight. And we're going to see a new featherweight champion, Diego Lopez. Well, that's all. Guys, stay tuned for the official picks and bets video that is going to come out in a few weeks. I really appreciate everyone who stayed on and watched this video all the way through, who's seen my other content. I'm super appreciative of all you guys. Trust me, great things are going to come in 2026. I'm going to, do my best to improve my content, do the best analysis research that I can for these fights to give you guys the best picks. And that is going to be my tried and true staple of this channel, is to provide the best analysis that I can and hopefully grow this channel to be one of the best in the industry. So I'm really grateful, very appreciative of you guys, and I'm getting a little more sentimental. It is around the holidays, so I wish everyone out there, a merry, this video is going to be after Christmas, but happy holidays, happy New Year's. I hope everyone is doing well, and let's look forward to a great 2026. So thank you everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe. That would be so helpful, and stay tuned for the next video.